Life.
All right. Hey guys, what's up? TJ here. This is Atheist Edge. We're doing a live show. Kind of came in at the last minute, or we put it together at the last minute, kind of. A couple days ago, we had the idea that we'd do it. But what we want to do tonight is we're talking about the banner campaign that we at Metroplex Atheists have put together. The banners are hanging up on light poles in downtown Fort Worth. They are basically an advertisement for a educational seminar that we're going to be doing on July 14th. And that is to kind of spread some awareness and call attention to the fact that many of us in this country feel that our current logo or our current national motto, which is right now is in God we trust. It's on the money and it's on legal documents and all that kind of stuff. And we kind of feel there are many of us that feel that it's a kind of a divisive motto. And due to the fact that we feel like we have a plurality of beliefs, and we have freedom of conscience and freedom of speech in this country. So you get people from all different walks of life living in the States, and all different kinds of religious persuasions, and so we kind of feel that referencing the Christian God as part of the national motto is a little bit disrespectful to the people who don't believe that. So the seminar is going to be to shed some light on the history of how that motto came to be the national motto, and kind of our push, if we can make something happen, is that we actually like for the motto, our unofficial motto that we started out with, to become the new motto again, which is E pluribus unum, which means out of many one in Latin. So we feel like that's a lot more inclusive of everybody. And it also is probably much more constitutionally sound for that to be the motto, as opposed to a direct reference to a deity. We're supposed to have the Establishment Clause in the Bill of Rights, so we actually feel like that would be a lot better for everybody. Just because there are a lot of people that believe in God in this country. That is true, but there are many of us out there that don't, or just kind of believe in things other than the Christian deity. Imagine that there are people out there who don't believe in your God. So we just feel like it's a better motto. So that's going to be the topic of discussion, pretty much. But I would also like to get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. So if you would check out our Teespring, we just added 2 new T-shirts to the Teespring store. So go check those out. One of them is actually the logo of the banners that we're flying in downtown Fort Worth. It says "In No God We Trust" on the shirt. It's a nice black shirt with yellow lettering, or a yellow field with blue letters on it. So it's pretty cool. And then we have our IJW T-shirt up on Teespring right now. That stands for Individual Justice Warrior. So some of us prefer not to apply justice socially across groups, but rather, we believe that, the funny thing is that some of us actually believe that individuals should receive justice and get what they deserve. So, but other than that, I would like to welcome Chris, host Atheist Edge, and Ralph, or as we like to call him, Jason. Thanks, Jason. So we got Chris, we got Jason here. Jim is kind of in the shadows back there doing his thing from behind the scenes as usual. And with that, I would like to toss it to Chris. I believe has some things prepared. So if you would take it away, Chris.
Well, before I get to the compare bit, I just wanted to follow up on why we're doing this. Let's set aside the "in God we trust" thing for a moment. Let's talk about "e pluribus unum" as a motto. Um, uh, that was, or very early on in our nation's history, that was put in place as a motto, and as the nation has progressed, it's really emblematic of our history as a country. Very few of us nowadays can trace our ancestry to people who originated in America. Many of us, they came through Ellis Island, or they came from Asia or from other places overseas, Central America, Mexico, and that's, I know there's people on the right that would probably disagree with this. Those are people who are also upset at our banners, but that's one thing that makes us really cool as a nation, is that we have all these new ideas and perspectives and cuisines and cultures coming in and all kind of mixing together, and as a result we get kind of the benefits of all that understanding. Historically, there's many great civilizations where there's been interchange of cultural ideas. You had Greeks and ancient Egypt being together, and all that stuff. So I think even if you don't think "in God we trust" is a bad motto on the face of it, even if you're a religious person that does trust in God, I hope you would at least consider the idea that maybe there's a better motto, and maybe one that wasn't born out of fear mongering and hysteria 50 years ago, and one that was, as opposed to one like "e pluribus unum" that dates back to colonial times and the very foundations of the country. And I think that, especially for the kind of person that is I support the Constitution and the founding fathers were the best people ever and they can do no wrong, then maybe it behooves you to think, okay, what did the founding fathers want the national motto to be? Hopefully that would come into play a little bit also. So if you want to find out more, you can come to our seminar, Fort Worth Botanical Gardens, on July 14th and learn a little bit more about it.
Cool. I'd actually like to add something to that, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Sure. So the whole "in God we trust" motto actually really betrays the historical truth, the factual narrative of the founding of this nation. It's very ignorant to the reality of, say, the Puritans and Quakers consistently and constantly at each other's throats. So really what's happened is culture, the Red Scare and all that obviously is what prompted the implementation of the "in God we trust" motto. But I really feel like it does so at the sacrifice of one of the core concepts of the nation's founding. So even if you look at many of the framers, they were from a very diverse and, I would say, highly nuanced pool of believers and purported non-believers. For instance, I don't think it's really quite certain what Paine was, whereas we know for a fact John Adams was a Christian. Jefferson obviously had the Jefferson Bible, and we can deduce a lot from that simply by reading it, what his religious views were. So my perspective, and I think people really need to think about this, religious or not, is that from the onset of the nation, we actually understood that religious freedom, or freedom from religion, was absolutely necessary to have a sort of tranquility or basis for peace and interaction between the populace. Otherwise we were going to have issues with the Quakers, like the Quakers and the Puritans.
Yeah.
At the time, it was actually very common. I don't remember which one, but I think it was if you were a Quaker and you went into a Puritan neighborhood, they would literally tar and feather you. And that's where I think the term tar and feather actually came from, was they would cover you in pitch, put chicken feathers on you and send you out of town because you were essentially to them a heretic. And I'd really like the viewers to actually think about that. And if you're not convinced of the truth of that, just do some historical study on your own. And I think you're going to discover that there's a very well-defined reason for the First Amendment, and there's a reason to keep all of this, religious or theistic belief completely out of government. And that's all I really got to say about that.
Yeah, it was, this was supposed to be, so when the framers started, when we started this whole experiment, that's what our country was. It was the great experiment. And I think it's actually been successful up to this point. And what it was supposed to be is what they were going for was, look, this is the first secular nation in the world. And this is going to be a haven for anyone fleeing religious persecution. So therefore, it was probably the most important concept that this country was founded on, which was freedom of religion. And I think that includes freedom from religion as well. And if you don't think that includes freedom from religion as well, then you have a very, very piss poor understanding of what the founding fathers were trying to do with this nation. This new nation, when they started it, was supposed to be, hey, if you're fleeing persecution or religious strife, or you just come here, and we're the haven that you're looking for. And
interestingly, I'm sorry. Just interestingly, the recent ancestors of the framers were very well informed and directly experienced the imposition of, say, the Church of England, or quite a few generations back, but the Spanish Inquisition, things like that. And they were well aware of these things, and they wanted to ensure that there was no basis for these things to happen in our society.
Yeah.
And I think, my whole thing is I don't see how you can be a religious person, and I do mean of any variety, right? Whether you're a Muslim or whatever, but objectively take a look at the history of the U.S. and come to any other conclusion than we were meant de facto from the beginning via the Treaty of Tripoli and various other documents to be a wholly secular nation. And there's a very, very good reason for that. And that's because when you have a theological encroachment into society, what happens then, of course, is whichever religion has the majority stakeholder, or is the majority stakeholder in governance, they're the ones who usually end up driving legislation, things like in Georgia. Jim's raising his hand. Yes, you and
Am I muted? Am I good?
No, we hear you.
we hear you.
Hello, everyone. Lisa for Truth doesn't have a lot of time, so we asked her to come in. So everyone say hello to her. Everyone go to her channel and give her some love as well. So let's give her the floor. I don't know how much time she has, and then after that, let's get all our plugs out of the way up front, so we don't do it at the end of the show. So Lisa, go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get my plug out of the way. I'm Lisa for Truth. I do religion mostly. Sometimes I do science stuff that has to do with religion, but it's religion adjacent. I generally do. I'm almost through with the series called The Knights Templar, which is pertinent to this discussion because it was one of the holy wars. And if you think the Christians never started holy wars, you are sadly mistaken. So that's my plug, Lisa for Truth. Go check it out. And then, so after I was in the IFB, I was still in my parents' house. So they switched to Southern Baptist Convention, which is still a Baptist flavor, but it's kind of more lenient than the IFB. Still conservative though. And they told me in the Southern Baptist Convention, yeah, the founding fathers founded this nation because they wanted freedom of religion for Christianity. And I was a teenager at that time, and I was like, dudes, freedom of religion means freedom of religion. It doesn't mean freedom of religion so you can be a Christian.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was an IFB as well for a long time. So that perspective, I'm very familiar with.
and
Just
it's like, thank you. No, I didn't know that. Thank you. So anyway, I will listen to your plugs, and then I've got to go. So anyway, hi. Oh, you can't see me because I got my avatar up there. But yeah, I enjoy doing my channel, and go check it out. So
Thanks,
thank you.
Lisa. Thanks for coming on. I know you didn't have a lot of time, but thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, I kind of had a question already when the first sentence that she said.
Let's TJ, you just want to go down the horn and let us plug in now, because it's
Okay.
better to do a front.
Yeah, that's fine. So I guess left to right on my screen, so it'd be Jim, and then we'll go to Jason
shit.
and Chris.
Okay. Let's see what I got. Okay, so I think TJ already talked about it, but we just added 2 new items to Teespring. One is a hot item. Everyone's been asking about it. We're going to get into the banner campaign, how it started, what's going on, how it's already received multi-country national media exposure. But the banners say "In No God We Trust," and that logo is now on T-shirts. If you go to the Teespring link in the merch in our description section, it'll take you right to it. So RN Raw he just posted on his personal social media that he's going to buy a bunch, and he retweeted all our stuff. So it's going to, and people are asking for it. Also, let's see, August 2nd, if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, go to Atheist Christian Book Club, the Atheist Christian Book Club on Facebook, or atheistchristianbookclub.com. It's a monthly gathering of atheists and believers, and we discuss a different book each month. And one month it's a believer book, next month it's a non-believer book. In August, they're featuring one of my books. So I don't know if you can see that, but that information is going to be on Atheist Christian Book Club, Facebook, and the web. So it's going to be a room full of Christians tearing apart the book I wrote, and I'm having to defend myself. So the more support I can get, the better.
Yeah.
Because that's all I've got. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So Jason, do you have anything going on that you want people to know about?
Yeah, sure. Just went on a wonderful date with my wife. Got her loaded on sangria.
Nice.
Out now, and yeah, no, man, that's pretty much it. I'm just a solo wolf guy. You know me.
Yeah, I know. All right, Chris, I know you have something.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I occasionally blog at sleepinginsundays.com. I occasionally tweet at Sleep Sundays. Usually I just get on Atheist Edge and try and sound smart and make jokes and horrible puns and whatnot. So
you're funny, dude. You're the funniest of us horsemen.
And he's the most modest, because that video that went out 4 days ago, it's been getting 10,000 views a day. He's just destroying all the other 3 of us.
Yeah, I just had some guy named Aaron Raw on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helped a
Some
little.
scrub.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? So like we have this little deal on, since there's 4 hosts, right? We kind of made ourselves into a little Seinfeld episode where we kind of like, so Chris is Jerry for sure, because he's the funny one. Jim is like Kramer, because he just kind of busts in and freaking speaks
and no filter
on his mind, no filter. And of course, we got Courtney, which is, of course, Elaine, because she's, kind of an airhead and a little ditzy sometimes.
Can't dance.
Can't dance. So And then
she's not here to defend herself. Oh God.
right, she's not here to defend herself, but
If she wants to prove herself on camera, she knows she can get on.
Oh,
We
hey,
love
let me plug her. Oh, and also TJ is the George Costanza,
yeah,
definitely, because he's
George.
always starting trouble and provocateur, which you will find out tonight. Let me. That's a good segue. That's a good segue. TJ and Jason's views tonight are going to get. Especially TJ, I know is going to get a little right leaning. Don't think this channel is a Ben Shapiro, Milo Yiannopoulos channel. All four of these hosts we are all over the socio-political spectrum. So whatever TJ says, that's his opinion. Whatever I say, it's mine. Whatever Chris says, it's his. All right. So we're all over the map. Three of us. One's pretty left of center. Two are a little left of center, and TJ's a little right of center. So there's going to be some opposing viewpoints, and we still get along, which is a great example.
Indeed, exactly. So yeah, what I wanted to get you to do, Jim, is kind of take us through the genesis of the banner campaign. How did that start? What prompted us to kind of engage in this fair bit of activism? I would say it's probably I'd consider it activism. So yeah, take us through how that developed.
Here's the in a nutshell version. Our organization here locally that just all four of us also happen to be a member of, Metroplex Atheist. It's the oldest atheist organization in North Texas. It's the second oldest in all of Texas, except for what's down in Austin, Madeline Murray O'Hare, American Atheist. So we're not quite as old as them, but we're the second oldest. We have 1,500 members, which after this, we're probably going to end up double. Yeah, we're going to double it. We're easily going to double it. We got so many requests for new memberships. Of course, we got the seminar. If you go to Metroplex Atheist on Facebook, don't go to the web. There's not a whole lot of information on the web. Go to the Facebook, go to the events, look for the In No God We Trust seminar. Aaron Ra is going to be speaking at it. Our Courtney is going to be speaking at it because she's also president of the organization. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of what we're talking about today. But to advertise that, now we've been planning this for 2 years. We've been fighting legal red tape. You cannot imagine how much we've been fighting this shit. We've been battling with the city government. Jumping through every hoop that they make us jump through, and they weren't happy about it, but we dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and we bought and made 66 banners. We gave it to them, and they've got them hanging up on light poles. So if you go to the Metroplex Atheist Facebook page, you're going to see all the banners, and you're going to see the ones that have already been vandalized, 6 that I know of so far, and they were just put up last Tuesday, where they were put up a day early. So Tuesday morning they were put up. The first 2 banners got vandalized within an hour or 2 hours. The other 4 got vandalized, and someone online admitted to doing it, and we're going through the process of the Fort Worth Police Department are reviewing closed camera TV footage, and so I sent in some information to them. We may or may not be filed a police report. I think TJ is trying to screen share.
Yeah,
one image. Okay,
yeah,
there we go.
If you can put my screen up, Jim. I've got my.
Oh, I've got to make yours, dude. Don't make me. Oh God,
I know.
How do I do that?
Don't make him do
It's live.
Present to everyone. Did that do it?
Yes.
Oh shit! I'm not a Luddite. I'm gonna learn.
Yeah,
things
you have advanced to the 18th
I see
century.
it.
So yeah, this is.
Oh, Lisa, you're still in here. Cool.
So yeah, this
Okay.
is what the banners looked like pre-vandalism.
And you're going to show.
They were very pretty for about.
Oh, look! Don't leave that up for now for a second. If you look off to the right, I sent also on that post on that thread. I sent a link. That's our Atheist Edge takedown. So it's a 10-minute quick version of everything I'm telling you now. So there's a video on that on our Atheist on this channel. So if you want to go and look at that too. Okay, so they went up Tuesday a day early. We went on Wednesday. We've been getting hit by every media locally, everything. Dallas Morning News, Fort Worth Star Telegram, all the major broadcast channels. Now we're getting hit with national, Fox News National. CNN's been looking at us. And since I'm the only one in the group that speaks decent Spanish. No, I wouldn't even call it decent, but I speak enough Spanish to do an interview. So Telemundo, Estrella TV out of Mexico, out of Jalisco. There's Canadian atheist groups, Canadian media. We haven't gotten approached by any media across the pond yet, but that I know that's coming. So it's blowing up. Needless to say, thousands. That's what I've been doing since Tuesday morning, is fielding, answering, responding to thousands, literally thousands, with some help of some other members. Requests for information, media requests, monitoring the comments on our Facebook. It's been a pain in the butt, but it's worth it. And I'm glad that we're getting this exposure. So yeah, all that was advertisement for the seminar coming up on the 14th. So if you're in the area, half the room's going to be media for sure. It's free admission. What? I'm sorry.
So people are saying that the Teespring link in the description is not working. Just an FYI.
Oh, okay.
Let's work on getting that. Yeah, let's work on getting that.
I'm going to do that now. I'm going to fix it. You know what? I'll fix it after the show. But you can go to Teespring and just type in atheist-edge in the search, and you should be able to find it. Either atheist space edge, but it should be it might be Oh, I know what it is. I'll type it in the live chat right now. It's teespring.com/stores/atheist-edge. So I'm going to put that in there now. And that's kind of the lowdown. You guys can go ahead and jump in, but that's the basic gist of what's going on.
Yeah, I had a question. I'd heard something about the mayor having some sort of position.
Yeah, she's appalled by it.
I've got her statement up. Thanks for reminding me, Jason. Sure. All right, so she tweeted almost immediately. She said, "This is the mayor of Fort Worth." So this is an official statement, and her injecting her personal preferences into this official statement. "I was appalled when I saw the banners currently being displayed downtown, as I do not support or agree with the message. While many of us may not agree with the message, the organization did follow policies and procedures set forth by the city in downtown Fort Worth." Now, she goes on she caveats that, and now she tries to get political. But I mean, that's her personal opinion, which, acting as a government representative, I think she's not speaking on behalf of all her citizens. And then she goes on to say, "We must respect freedom of speech as we approach the 4th of July. We must remember that many Americans have fought and died for the freedoms we cherish today." And I didn't speak on behalf of Metroplex Atheists. I spoke on behalf of myself. I replied to her. I said, "Mayor Price, something as a 21-year combat Marine, I agree wholeheartely, and I echo your statement that many Americans have fought and died for the freedoms we cherish today. Specifically, I have fought, and many of my brothers and sisters have died to protect the freedoms to do exactly what we're doing downtown. And we also fought, and some of us died, to protect your freedom to be appalled."
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone's looking at me right now, just so you know.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Not that I don't like being the center of attention, but.
All right. Yeah, Jim. Well, that's weird.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's because you had to. Because you had that presentation.
Stop presenting. Yeah. I'm learning as I go, and we're gonna have to learn it all over again when we go to OBS.
Yeah.
So I guess now all eyes are on Dallas-Fort Worth Police to see if they're going to apply the laws that should be applied.
Yes.
If they want to actually protect and serve not just the people they agree with,
right?
And maybe patrol those banners and keep people from slashing them. But here's another thing. A lot of people are requesting that when the banners do come down, they want there to be an auction. So we're looking into auctioning them off, and we told Downtown Fort Worth to, when you take down the shredded banners, keep them and let us have those, because those might get auctioned off for even more.
Yeah. So, right. We're looking for a fair application of the law in this case, for sure. So I think it's what's awesome is all this media coverage that's been taking place involved with this, because not only does it get us our positions out there to the wider public, It also is going to do exactly what Jason said. It's going to put a microscope on this issue. And if nothing is done, if the person that was, has basically admitted responsibility for these acts of vandalism, if nothing is done to this person, then we'll have a pretty clear indictment of how how the law is applied differently and separately to certain individuals in our society. So.
Yeah, I mean, you could just add us to the list of Christians behaving badly,
Yeah.
as if you didn't have enough already with the Republican Party and things they're doing nationwide. Just just keep adding them to the list. Keep having people see that that people who claim to be Christian and claim to be the bastions of morality and everything that is good and wonderful and holy are not actually living up to their claimed role in society.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, but beyond that, I do think, in the interest of fairness, it's important to point out that there is a significant set of Christians, a demographic of Christians that they would never. I mean, they might walk by it and scoff and express their own personal disgust, maybe with the banners or whatever, but they wouldn't reach over and tear them.
Well, let them speak out. Let them say, hey, these people don't represent us. And in fairness, there's been a lot of people, as I've been looking at the social media on this, and there's been a lot of people saying, hey, I don't agree with them, but they have constitutional rights just like everyone else, and they should be let do their thing.
Yeah.
And those are kind of, and I'm glad that Christians are speaking out against their own on this.
Yeah, I've seen that in a few comments too. I've kind of been watching this on the periphery from out here in Virginia land.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that it puts a fine point on something that I've always kind of argued. And well, I'll answer Richard. I don't condone assaulting or battering people in any way, shape, or form, no matter whether or not I agree with them or disagree with them. So yeah, with that answered, what I'd say is this is a very good way to show how, with these, especially with these Christians, is that this is why you argue when you're having an argument with someone. You argue from principles, not from outcomes. So I think that's a very good way to show that when you have these Christians that are actually saying, hey, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I will defend, I'll defend your right to say it. So, and that's a good way to, I really think it's good on them for, and you know what, good on the mayor. Like, she may have said that she was appalled by the message or didn't agree with it or whatever, but she did recognize that, we went through the proper channels. We did things by the book, as it were, and we have a right to say the things we want to say, just like anybody else does. So.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was just going to say, this reminds me of the late great Hitch. When he was saying that there was no moral proclamation that a theist or a religious person could make that an atheist couldn't also make. And certainly religion doesn't seem to, in most cases, improve behavior. In some cases, it emboldens this negative behavior. And certainly, we haven't seen the investigation or the outcome of any of this yet, but I'm willing to bet that the person thinks that they have a morally superior ground and basis for destroying, that which he sees ungodly. And really, you kind of need religion to do that, to justify it. So I just kind of wanted to point that out.
It's a good point.
Yeah, you're really right. But speaking of the mayor, I wish she didn't say she was appalled, but she was at the end willing to do her job in spite of her disagreement with what was going on. And we really need more of that, not just in politics, but in other professions, because we're starting to see, speaking of people being emboldened, now we have, they're trying to make it easier for, say, pharmacists who disagree with abortion and birth control to refuse birth control. They're trying to make it easier for doctors and physicians who disagree with certain medical treatments to have the freedom to not give those treatments on religious grounds. when it's their job to help people, to provide medicine,
Well,
to provide treatment.
I don't know about that, man.
This kind of thing has been going on for a while.
Well,
Uh,
they're only directed to. Hold on a second. Hold on. I just want to address that for just real quick. Doctors are private individuals. They're not representatives of any kind of public trust. So I actually would support. They're supposed to do no harm. They aren't given some mandate that they have to help. That they're required by law to help anyone in any particular way, but they do have to conduct their medical practice ethically. And if I think I'm in support of someone who says that if they have an ethical reason to not do a thing, that they should be able to object to that and not do that thing if they choose to. So I'm not quite sure. Do I think it's asinine that there are doctors that won't prescribe people birth control because they think it's some sort of religious thing that they're objecting it on those grounds? Do I think that's asinine? Of course I do, but I don't think that the answer to that is to force them to do that if they don't want to.
So there's a lot of problems with that, and the biggest problem first and foremost is, of course, that most doctors are employees of public hospitals. And even beyond that, a case that I actually wanted to sort of bring up that's kind of tangential to this is there was a nurse in the Air Force who was, she's put right on her door that she would not prescribe birth control because it was against, I think she was a Catholic. Mm-hmm. And the problem was she was like the sole nurse for dispensing, the birth control and contraceptives to, I don't know, a lot of airmen on the base. And to me, just like when it's like a public entity or a public agency, to me, this is exercising your opinion in defiance of what is legally acceptable to the detriment of others. And when it comes to that point, I just don't think that that's justifiable. I get what you're saying. Like, if a doctor has his private practice, I am absolutely 100% with you on the idea that they should be able to engage in their job, how they see ethically fit. But there does, I think, come a burden on some of these doctors. I mean, for one thing, I know a lot of women, for their reproductive system health, birth control is a necessity. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And by denying them this medicine that improves the quality of their life or minimizes the risk of physical harm to themselves on some sort of religious moral basis, to me, that is actually de facto unethical.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
So I'm just saying there's a lot to think about there, and there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it's nuanced, just like any issue is usually, and that's but I think that's definitely something that we need to if we need to get all the facets and all the facts. And that's kind of what we're trying to do on this show tonight is talk about things with with facts to demonstrate things. So, but so. That's all I was trying to say too, was that there are things involved that could make it, I think, okay for them to say, and in certain situations where it would be okay for a doctor to say, look, I can't, in good conscience, I can't do thing X because I don't think it's ethical for me to, and I don't think that it agrees with my personal morality. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have freedom of conscience in this country.
Yeah.
I mean,
people do have freedom of conscience, but they also have freedom to pursue another job if their job is not in line with their freedom. And I'm all for people exercising their freedoms, personally, as far as it of their own conscience, and it affects themselves and themselves alone. I don't care what people do in their own homes. I don't care who they pray to when they're kneeling over their bed at night. But when we're in the public sphere and we're all having to interact with each other, we need to set some rules for how those interactions are going to happen. And we've figured out that as a general principle, your rights and where I forget the stupid term, but where it's and where your fist meets my nose. And if someone's religious beliefs are impacting another individual, then we need to start investigating how we're going to handle that as a society.
Right. So then you actually made a good point, and I'm sorry, but I have to point it out to you that yeah, you can choose another. You can, just as well as you could choose another profession than physician. You could also go to a different physician if you choose.
Sometimes, I mean, we have the luxury of being in a major metropolitan area where we have options like that. But okay, hypothetical situation: you're in a car accident and you go to the nearest hospital because you're in grave shape and you need to get medical help right away.
Right.
But the attending physician is a Jehovah's Witness who doesn't believe in blood transfusions.
Right. Yeah. I think that's one of those cases, just like Jason said, where there are certain instances where that would be unethical, because you're basically dooming that person to death.
And that's what I was getting at with the Air Force nurse I was talking about. I don't remember the precise specifics of that whole situation, but it was something like the next nearest provider was something like an hour away. And, you know, and as you and Jim know, a duty day can be 14, 15, 16 hours, sometimes 24 straight, right? So for the service member to be able to go to that person in the first place is already taxing. And then you're telling them that because of their personal religious beliefs, they can't get the medical care that's necessary to them. They have to go somewhere else. It almost makes it impossible.
I mean, if you can show that there's a medical necessity, then yeah. I don't.
Is this just real quick before I forget? So there are points in your life, like for instance, for a significant portion of my service, I was a Christian at the time, right? So just as an example, though, if I were in that nurse's shoes, I would recognize the scenario, and despite the strength of some very strongly held convictions, I might have to do my duty and what is best for my fellow service members as opposed to my own personal beliefs, because that's what selfless service is about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and a lot of people, they forget that. And, interestingly, I have known, for instance, I had a first sergeant he's very religious, but he's one of the best people I have ever met in my life. And if you told him that you wanted to go see a secular counselor, he would do everything he could to make that happen.
Right, but he's probably a good person despite his religiosity, though,
sure.
Not because of it.
Sure, but the point is it was duty before individual belief.
Right, and that's good. That's a very good thing.
Right. And I think what Chris was saying was that this ethically, this gets into like deontology and stuff, but we do owe it to ourselves as society to have some sort of bulwark against the kind of prejudice that prevents us from dispensing equal treatments to people. And I think when you're in a public position, such as the mayor of DFW, right? Or
she's Fort Worth mayor,
yeah, Fort Worth mayor, or the a larger public entity, I think you have a duty at that point to do what is consistent with the law.
Yeah.
But I am with you on the libertarian view that you want to maximize individual freedom, right? Yeah. With only the necessary amount of control to create equity.
Yeah, well, and to protect public health as well. I mean,
sure.
So that's why you have, and that's why doctors have to be certified to practice medicine, because that is our way of ensuring that they're not going to do harm to people.
What's interesting is this actually brings to light the the whole strength and purpose behind what was seemingly nonsensical, the wedding cake debacle.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of those things that seems trivial, but at the same time, it's like, man, actually, that has, far-reaching impact.
And, and this is actually something that Jim has changed my mind about. I used to kind of be of the mind that, like, yeah, it's a place of public accommodation. They allow the general public inside their stores, so they shouldn't be able to discriminate. But it's weird though, because Jim has convinced me that, look, yes, they are a business that is open to the public. The general public can walk inside the store, but it is also still a private individual's business. It is their decision who they serve and who they don't serve.
For a while.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Since we've been on the air, I just got a request to put bumper stickers on the Teespring site as well, and he says he's going to order 100 of them right off the bat. So
Wow.
I'll give you guys a background. As of today, our last recording session, Aaron Raw came over and we did 7 hours with him. But in between takes, we sat down, and the 4 hosts sat down, and we hammered out a contract. Who gets what? What happens if, how do we decide how major decisions on the show, the way the show's going to go, how we decide that, who gets to vote, everything, how it all works out, who gets what, if they decide to leave, do they get anything after they leave? If someone gets voted off the island, which I don't see happening, but we plan for that contingency as well. Like, do you get your 25% in perpetuity, or does that end when you leave? So we hammered out all the details. Also, we hammered out how the revenue gets, there's AdSense revenue, super chat revenue, the revenue from the show. There's Patreon donations. There's one-time donations through PayPal. And then there's the Teespring. So we hammered out who gets what cut of everything, where it all goes, and then who's in charge of what. For instance, TJ and I handle all the YouTube comments. We try to respond to everybody. And just like you guys know, we're one of those few channels on earth that don't block, ban, censor, or delete anything. We leave it all up. And as long as it's legal and it doesn't incite violence, we're an open marketplace of ideas, and we're proud of that. But so we do that. As of today, I taught TJ how to do Teespring. So he's got the account information. He's added new t-shirts today. And now that was just a long way of saying, TJ, you need to put that in No God We Trust on a bumper sticker and have that up and ready, and let me know by the end of the night.
All right. I'll try to do that.
And so I think I have some questions from the live chat, but I'll let you guys keep talking about the wedding cakes if you want. But just remember, I've got some comments in here that we can field later on.
So this is where some of that that libertarian leaning politics comes out in me when you start talking about what freedoms people ought to be afforded in our society. And if you ever have to ask me, my answer is always in favor of people having the most amount of personal liberties. So
with the minimum amount of control applied.
Right, exactly. Yes. And I know that some is necessary. I'm not like a taxation is theft kind of guy or anything like that. I do know, and I accept that in a society as large as ours, since we do have representatives that govern things in public life, that I do know, and I recognize and accept that there are some things that are necessary. So I get it. I'm not totally I'm not an anarchist or anything, but I do lean a little bit libertarian. So,
there are a lot of anarchists out there that are really weird, man. Have some very convoluted ideas about how a society could function, but I guess that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
Yeah,
I will. Go ahead, Chris.
It's important to remember that we're all coming at this from a white male straight perspective. we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about
yeah, I think it's important to remember that, you know, it was 100 years ago in this country, there were still signs up saying Irish need not apply.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Sure.
And 50 years ago, we were just barely figuring out that we were just getting past civil rights and having areas where blacks can't apply, or colored only fountains and whatnot. And
Right.
I really don't think there's a justification for going backwards, because we've already relitigated this stuff multiple times since nation's history.
And I agree with you, but like, dude, I mean, we did have a civil rights movement 50 years ago. Do you think we're more or less racist as a society now?
Well, I think you can't be as, I'm sure there's still, I don't want to say what
It
the racial
exists,
tinges
yeah.
of society is. I mean, there's always going to be some bits and hard to avoid. But in terms of what you can do publicly as your business and what you can do to people around you, you can't let your racism be as obvious and as harmful as you could have 50 years ago.
I'm kind of on Jim with this. You know, if you're going to do things like that, if you're going to discriminate against people, just do it openly, so that way I know who the bigots are. So I think Jim's right when he says, you know, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Mm-hmm.
When those kinds of people, but see, you can think a thing is ethically or morally repugnant, but I don't think that gives you a right to then just say, oh, we'll just make a law and have the police enforce my morality on you. I don't think that's the answer. I don't think that you answer those kinds of issues by pointing a gun at it.
Well, we have laws because the free market wasn't working. Like Alabama, not to shit on Alabama, but I'm pretty sure they would still have blacks only water fountains today if there wasn't a federal law saying you couldn't. But Jim, did you have, I saw your hand shoot up.
I got three things. One, just a personal opinion. We've had several guests in our studio. Matt Dillahunty comes to mind. But when we talk about something that involves someone of a different skin color than everyone in the room, or someone of a different biological sex than most everyone in the room, this person will always have a guest, or maybe one of the hosts will say, well, I can't speak on that because I'm not this. And I think that is so false for a number of reasons. Yes, you can speak on it. Yes, everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion on abortion, even though I don't have a uterus. Being entitled to a position on it is not the same thing as saying I fully experience the gravity of the situation. It affects me uniquely. That's two separate things. Everyone has an opinion on it. And second, a legislator is voted into office. That's an elected position. Whether they are male or female, it is their job to make laws on that. So when I hear people say, it's a room full of mostly white males deciding abortion, well, for better or worse, of course, I'm not happy with the way, especially the Senate, and our current executive branch of the government. TJ would argue with me, but that's who the majority of us voted in. That, well, at least the Electoral College voted in, and they're the lawmakers. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter the sexual plumbing they have in their trousers. They are duly required to legislate these types of issues.
Let's get one thing.
I got two more things, CJ. Okay. No, you can. Can I just get through the other two things? Someone was asking about a physician. So with regard to wedding cakes, would it be the same for a physician deciding whether or not they're going to serve you, or a grocery store cashier, or a county clerk that wants to rubber stamp your gay marriage license? All right, so keep that in mind. And also someone asked, Guitar Dog asked, is your dog Caesar, is he a mini Doberman or not? And that's all I got.
He is, he is Chiweenie. He's a Chiweenie. But no, what I'd also like to say when you talk about people complaining about a bunch of white guys sitting in legislatures making laws that apply to a gender that doesn't match what they are, or the opposite sex. Let's not gloss over the fact that by percentage, more of the women that run for political office get elected to those offices than men do. So if you have a problem with not enough women in your legislature, start running for office. If you are a woman and you want to see women in politics, go into politics. The problem is that like people bitch and complain that there aren't more women in this, there aren't more women in that. Well, if those types of things interested more women, you would see more of them in those fields. So all the people that gripe about, oh man, you've got me started. So I hate these arguments where people are like, well, there's not enough women in STEM. There's not enough women. Okay, well, how about where are all the women garbage collectors? Where are all the women crab fishermen? Where are all the women dying of black lung from working in coal mines? You don't see it because they don't want to do those things. So if you would like more women in more fields, then you should start encouraging kids when they're young to want to do those things. But we don't. So that's the problem.
I have tried actually with my daughter. I'll have you know that she's only 10, but first and foremost, she's in the top 5% of the state academically. I'm going to brag here for a second. She is state champion, word masters, as far as I know. She's got a little medal and everything for it. But she is such a paleontology nerd. Mm-hmm. I mean, to the degree that like sometimes I'll find her in the backyard digging things up.
That's awesome.
You know, so I mean, I could agree with you, but you have to realize that a lot of that has been sociologically driven.
Yeah, I get that.
It's been a cultural thing over the past, you know, however long basically humanity survived. Women have been relegated to certain maternal roles, right? So we're trying to kind of climb out of that, and I think a lot of the arguments and confrontation in society right now regarding, you know, this rise of female capacity to fill these roles is the way I want to put it.
Yeah, and I get it. Like some people are interested in those, some women are interested in those things, but I'm talking about by and large, on average, you take 100 women and 100 men and ask them to list their interests, and most of those things most of those things that are listed won't overlap very much.
Ask yourself whether this is nature or nurture.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm not.
A lot of families in the U.S., you know, and I kind of hate to put it this way, but it's true. You know, they're of a certain theological leaning with a certain set of core expectations for their daughters. And I think that's a harmful thing. Mm-hmm. Okay? I might be speaking out of my ass there, but I'm
oh, definitely.
You know,
I agree with you.
Yeah, having been, like I said, like, you know, a Christian for 23 years, you know, I can firmly remember the primness and properness and dresses and, you know, do this and don't do that. You know, why don't you go join the knitting club instead of going?
Yeah, I totally 100% agree. Stop treating we need to stop treating our girls like they're fairy princesses.
Right, and so consider this. Having agreed with that, consider this. There's the women's rights movement, right? Equity and voting, right? Okay, that happens. Mm-hmm. They get it. Okay, that wasn't that long ago. And we are still, what's happening right now, I think, is kind of, I really hate the term because it sounds like a Jehovah's Witness thing, but it's like a cultural awakening.
Yeah.
To the fact that there is a significant subset, 50% of the population fully
right.
is culturally shoehorned into roles that, you know, and you can make the argument for individuality, but the problem is they have been effectively nurtured into, nah, don't do this, you should do that.
Listen. Well, I think it's an artifact of our evolutionary development, because the bigger, stronger humans needed to stand guard at the entrance of the cave, or something big and scary would wander inside and eat everyone. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so it's not just, I don't think it's just just society. It's not just socialization. It's an artifact. It's a leftover remnant of when these things were necessary.
Yeah, Jim's got a question, but I have something on my mind. I want to get back to.
Okay. This is a good time to just point out that just remember, everyone, that TJ is the farthest right leaning of the four hosts, and not to say that he brings a unique perspective to the show. He's important in that sense. He makes the rest of us think. I don't want any. I don't care if you unsubscribe or not, but don't unsubscribe because of what any one host says. Take each of us on our own merits. If the show provides entertainment or information for you and you don't agree with one of the three of us, hey, keep that in the back of your mind. Take it with a grain of salt. Second is regarding the banner situation, just to get back on that one more time. I didn't touch on all the threats of violence we've gotten so far, so I can think of 5 right now, but so far, what is today? Saturday.
Friday.
Shit, what is it?
Friday.
It's okay. So Wednesday they were supposed to go up. So Tuesday morning they went up. So we're talking 4 days. In just the first 4 days, we've been threatened to be run over by a Mack truck, to be hanged by our necks, to punch us in the face when they see us, and the next atheist I'm going to see, I'm going to pummel. And what was the 5th one? You remember, TJ or Chris? I forget.
I don't know.
Yeah. The worst was I'm going to run over one of them with a Mack truck. That was so. Of course, all those get reported. So we are a free speech marketplace. If that type of language shows up on Atheist Edge, any of our platforms, of course, that'll be the only time that we do censor. But as far as that, I'm sorry. Back to your.
Having driven tons of Mack trucks, I can tell you that was the kind of thing that's stated by somebody who knows absolutely nothing about commercial vehicles.
So what kind of truck would you recommend someone run us over with?
Let's see. I'm actually partial to Sterling's or a Peterbilt, maybe a Peterbilt.
More maneuverable. You're able to hit a running target.
A Kenworth. A Kenworth has actually got a nice heavy duty chassis generally. So, if they were really to spear you with a Kenworth, that might have a real good destructive explosion property to it.
Okay. You always learn something new here on Atheist Edge. We're providing a valuable public service.
Yeah, every Mack truck I've ever driven, they generally work, but they're usually pieces of crap. That's just my position. They're like the bargain basement truck for people who just need 30 or 40 fleet dump trucks and just kind of want them to work. That's about it.
Sounds good. All right, Chris, did you have anything else?
I always have stuff to talk about, whether or not it's entertaining anyone else is the question.
Keep us chugging along there, buddy.
Okay, well, this may be a good time to, since we're talking about the banners again. I don't normally follow social media on these topics just because signal to noise ratio is out of whack. But I thought there might be some entertainment to be had by looking at some of the responses we've been getting to this. And like I said, there's been a refreshing amount of positive pro-freedom of speech, pro-freedom of religion comments by locals, which I would love to see more of. So feel free to comment on Betsy Price's Facebook or Twitter. Let them know what you think of the banners. But of course, there's always going to be someone, and there was a lot of them in this case. So I clipped some of the more entertaining responses that I saw on the Facebook and on the Twitter of this. And so let me do my screen share thing. So, okay, this is from Doris on Facebook. Doris, I sent some of the names, but Doris is kind of what you would imagine someone named Doris to be, everyone's grandmother. But she said, totally unacceptable. Where are our rights as Christians? Outraged. Disrespectful to any Texan, American, and Christian. Don't disrespect my God. In God we trust. What America was built upon. And so she doesn't know what her rights are. And She doesn't know that her rights also apply to us, apparently. She also doesn't
This
know.
is an embarrassment of riches. I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is actually crying for privilege is what this is.
Oh yeah, and this is the kind of thing that you would expect, and there's plenty more where that came from. I didn't clip every opportunity of that, but let's see what else we got in the old mailbag here. Let's see.
I've got you set on presenting to everyone,
I
Chris.
saw
So
that.
whatever you put up, all right.
Yeah, we're good. This person said the banner is an inappropriate image. This is America. In God we trust. That is our whole foundation. They will come down. Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord.
I got a question for you guys. When we get it all the time, and we've been getting it really hard the last couple of days, but when they say, I'm going to pray for you and you better get, this is your last chance. Bad things await you. All the burn, you're going to burn in hell and just you wait kind of language. Do you consider that threats? Is that, I haven't been reporting it, nor do I even intend to. I don't think that's an actual valid threat because it's a fairy tale. But I mean,
if they're threatening us with eternal torment, then okay.
I see it as a veiled threat, but yes, I mean, I don't think
exactly
it doesn't meet I don't think it meets the legal definition of one, but it's a threat. I mean, don't get it wrong. It's they're wishing you to go to a place where you're going to be tortured for eternity. To me, that's a threat.
Yeah, for example, this one was a little bit more vague. Whoever hang those banners up, I feel sorry for you all. Something will happen, and you will be sorry you did that. We serve a mighty God, and God knows who did it. May God have mercy on whoever did that.
Yeah, it's like a mobster going up to your business and saying, "Hey, it's a nice shop you got here. Be ashamed if something were to happen to it."
Exactly. And when they say they're going to pray for you, you know my response. Jason, do you know my response to that usually?
Yeah, you're going to do I'll think for you.
Nope.
No.
That is a more politically correct, which is that if I had said that at the Fall Festival 2 years ago when they came to my booth and did a prayer circle, including one of them was a uniformed police officer, they got in front of our booth and decided they were going to join hands and pray for us. If I had said, "Oh, that's okay, I'll think for you," I might not have lost my job as a substitute teacher. One of them was one of my students. Yeah, it was bad. But what I said was, "That's okay. Saying you're going to pray for me is the same thing as saying you're going to masturbate for me. It might make you feel good, but I'm going to get nothing out of it."
Yeah, right.
I had a thought. This is just, I guess, kind of because I'm an asshole. But think about this. Okay, so one of those ladies was actually upset with the quote unquote imagery, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm just going to suggest that some atheist organization, maybe not yours, need to put up a shirt that begins with the verse regarding Lot's daughters, and then have Lot passed out like in a recliner or on a rock or something, and the daughters feeding him wine with little thought bubbles that say, "I'm going to screw my daddy."
Yeah, Jim, since we're on Teespring, we need a shirt that says on the front, it says, "Read your Bible." And on the back, it has the issue from Ezekiel about or the verse from Ezekiel about their penises were horses and their issue.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that her lovers had genitals as big as horses and emissions like donkeys.
Yeah. I think maybe God probably grows more powerful on foreskins. That's probably why he makes people cut the tip of their pecker off.
Yeah, just picture like Scrooge McDuck diving into a sea of foreskins, and
the more foreskins he gets, the more powerful he becomes. Like, yes, more foreskins.
How about a shirt where Lot is standing at the door and the angels are behind him and his daughters as well, and there's an angry mob outside, right? And he said, "No, don't fuck the angels, rape my daughters instead," and then put the verse below it. I mean, there's a lot of personality for some ruffled feathers out here, and I think if this lady really knew what the she was talking about.
I like it. Hey, I want to take an opportunity right now, just since we're kind of halfway in here. let everybody know that yes, we do accept super chats. If you want if you want something that you've written to be read aloud in the live show, just hit that little $ icon right there and toss us a few bucks. Something in the tip jar always helps, and we appreciate you guys watching. And with that, we'll continue.
Yeah, this is fun, Chris.
Yeah, let's see what else we got here.
While he's looking for one more, let me jump in. As long as we're talking about super chats, TJ and I kind of got into a little argument over at the pub the other night. He was wondering if the super chats. So if anyone in the live chat knows the answer to this, if you know how Google AdSense works, but I was under the impression that super chats automatically get added to the rest of the advertising revenue and gets dumped into the account all at once. And TJ thinks, because we got a $50 super chat way back when, and it doesn't seem to be appearing anywhere because we only made $48 on ad revenue that month. It was a lean month. And so that $50 super chat could not have been part of it. So it got me thinking that maybe all the super chats are sitting in some account somewhere we haven't even drawn from it yet. So if anyone in the live chat knows for sure if the live chat money gets added to the revenue and gets dumped all in one, or is it sitting in some account somewhere and we still have to, is it like PayPal where I have to draw from it?
Yeah, if you want to help us figure it out, you can put a donation in the super chat, and we'll have a live example to trace and see where it ends up. But this is hot and fresh from Twitter today. I did put a comment on Mayor Price's Twitter thanking her for her dedication to or support of freedom of religion, and this dude responded, I'm at Sleep Sundays, and he started with, if you stopped sleeping on Sunday and took a class, you'd see you are wrong. It's okay, you have right to your opinion. Sorry, you still can't prove there isn't, presumably, a God. This was telling. I'd rather follow the Bible and be wrong than not and be right that God is real. Yeah. God loves you, his best for you. So what can you do with that? Like if he's like saying, I'd rather follow the Bible and be wrong about reality, then we can't have a conversation then, because I actually care about reality.
And he's got a burden of evidence problem too.
Oh, could you? Does this sound like this guy is like? You could explain the burden of proof to this guy.
Have you noticed that believers have now everyone misspells things. There's typos even in my shit, but it's really predominant with the believers. I'm not saying they're dumber than we are, but really their sentences. I mean, Trump comes to mind, but yeah, but I mean, it seems like they just can't spell as well. They can't form a complete sentence usually.
The crazier they are, the worse their punctuation gets.
Yeah,
is for sure.
I mean, it's definitely an incoherent mishmash of what appears to be stupidity, but whatever.
Yeah.
How many of these you got, Chris? These are good.
Oh, I got plenty. If you want to take a break, we can go to some stuff and we can.
No. Well, TJ, it's your show tonight, but I like this.
Chris has got if Chris has got meaningful content, then present it.
Sweet. Okay. Okay. This is fun. Hijacking the issue for their own cause. Mimi Miller 420. I left this up because it's all public. I took some people off, but this is relevant to the content. FYI, I was appalled. Southern Baptist pastors support hashtag concentration camps in America. We have some hashtag false prophets going on in hashtag evangelical circles. Do you know hashtag Jim Crow? You put a veggie into hashtag prohibition. Hashtag God put 483 nutrients in designed endocannabinoid receptors.
Wow. All about nutrients.
Yes.
I'm just,
You know those potheads in your life who are annoying potheads who can't stop talking about being potheads?
That is exactly what this guy said.
Oh, look at that. Okay.
Guys, hey, real quick. You want to talk? Okay, go ahead, TJ.
Let me get through this. We got so Orson Zed put $2 in the tip jar. Thanks, Orson. And he says, play my Super Mario Maker 2 level. And I guess that is a code that you put in if you're playing Super Mario Maker 2 that will get you to his level. So thanks for the $2 super chat, Orson. Go ahead, guys.
I am terrified as to what is in that level. Is it a swastika made out of question blocks? Is it a
Maybe.
There's all sorts of things you could do that
Literally,
if I were a troll, I would put that code in random YouTube videos.
Hey, but we'll take anybody's $2 or however many dollars they want to give us. If they're just trolling us and they're giving us money to do so, we will surely allow them to troll us with all their monies.
But hey,
unless it's an executable batch file and we all get viri when we go.
Yeah, if someone in the chat wants to take the plunge for us and let us know if that's something worth promoting, we'll still take $2, but we'll also warn you if it is a bullshit thing. Or if it's a really good level, let us know that too. I suppose
he says it's Mario's guts.
Ooh, nice. I might actually go check that out now.
Like intestinal Mario.
Right.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I like this one. This was call and response. This was someone. This is the first person actually responding to an original post by the second person, but they're saying, I wouldn't mind this staying as long as it's okay with a satanic temple 7 tenets going up right next to it. You okay with that? He's like,
yep.
Well, definitely. I'm a card carrying member of the Satanic Temple. Backfired.
And most Satanists are atheists anyway. So yeah, we're way more okay with it than they would be.
Yeah,
than the Christians.
I love when they're like, would you be okay with some other group putting up something objectable? And like, yes, because I believe in freedom of speech.
And yeah, either accommodate it all or accommodate none of it.
Yeah.
I've stated
and
this
we see it all the time anyway.
Yeah, we do.
Before, but all this is just my opinion, but all this is conclusive proof that these people are operating from a narcissistic point of view.
Oh, I agree, for sure.
And I say that because they think they have the ultimate authority and that they can browbeat everybody else and stick their nose up at everybody else who doesn't believe their particular mythology.
Hey, Chris,
Yep.
and your
Did you guys see the interview?
Jim, could you end the presentation?
Yeah, Jim, you gotta start.
Okay, sorry.
Ending the presentations after we read the.
I gotta stop presenting. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Did you guys see the interview with the head of the Downtown Fort Worth Incorporated? They're the ones that put up the banners for the city, and they were asking him,
ABC.
have you been getting a lot of right? And he said, yeah, we've been getting, at the time it was just hundreds. I'm sure it's thousands of complaints now, but he said he was trying to be political about it. He said, to keep it in perspective, just remember after those banners go down here in a couple of weeks, the Kenneth Copeland Ministries are going to be the next ones up. And he's trying to, I see why he's saying it, but yeah, with regard to that last tweet, I mean, yeah, we're subjected to that on a constant basis. They're just getting a tiny little taste of how we see life.
It's a fundamental lack of empathy, like the thing that you learned in kindergarten when you took someone's blocks and your mom said, "Hey, imagine how you would feel if someone did that to you." Christians want to make a big deal. They want to act like they're persecuted in this country, and there are countries where Christians are a minority and they face actual real persecution. Yeah. So it's you can't have it both ways. Like you can't bemoan Christian persecution in other countries and persecute the minorities in your own country unless you're just this huge you just haven't made that mental connection.
I think I can't remember which founding father it was, but I think it might have been Jefferson. But I think he said that Christianity and government will both exist in greater purity the less that they're intermixed. So it's like I just want governments to stay out of the business of promoting religions or having a preference or endorsing things with regards to religion, just because it's not their place to. Not only that, I don't think religion should be considered a protected class. I mean, shoot me for saying so, but it's like it's a philosophical position or it's a intellectual position. It's not something you're born into necessarily by biology that dictates something about yourself that you can't change. You can change your religion. So therefore, I don't really see it as necessary for any kind of religion to be a protected class. But I mean, that's just kind of just me.
I kind of wanted to go back to what Chris was saying about empathy, if you don't mind. So I don't think it's an empathy thing outright. You could say maybe it's like an applied empathy thing, meaning that they have empathy, but they only show it for their in-group and not for an out-group,
Yeah.
which happens a lot. I don't know what your background was. You were a theist, weren't you, actually?
Oh, yeah, for 25 years or so.
Yeah, okay. So would I be right in saying that the way that you also remember your religious days is that you definitely had an in-group, and that those that were in the out-group, you often felt a sadness for them, that they weren't receiving something that you knew was true, and that there were definitely evils outside of your group, and that sometimes when these evils popped up, you may not necessarily share empathy with them. Would that be fair?
It's interesting. That's an interesting question. I was definitely, I was in a little bit of like a Christian bubble, not as much. I went to public school and whatnot, so I definitely got exposed to other religious views. But I don't know if I would have asked that question. I think I cared about people, but I also think that there are definitely people who I look down on. Like I probably had a little bit of homophobia in me as a Christian, and I probably.
You weren't alone in that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean it's easy to come by, but
yeah.
No, it'll be interesting. But I wasn't really actually faced with a lot of atheism growing up. I just for whatever reason that there weren't out in proud vocal atheist at my school and in my social circle. So it's been interesting. Like everyone I dealt with is mostly like I grew up around a lot of Catholics. So it was like they were different and weird and debatably Christian, but still enough Christian-y where I wasn't. They were othered.
You were completely in the out group.
Yeah, I was like, oh, you're close enough.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
So, yeah, that would be like me, like when I went from like IFB or actually Presbyterian to IFB, and then I look back on the Presbyterians. It's like okay, they still generally believe, John 3:16, and there's a lot of dogmatic differences. We're a little more fundamental literalist. They're not. They're more allegorical. But I guess my point is especially at the time, and because I have the benefit of looking back, you and I are not cradle atheists, like say Jim is. Mm-hmm. I can certainly see the perspective where you almost felt a sadness for these other people. So genuinely, what even that lady who was coming off as really vitriolic, what she might genuinely be feeling is a little bit of sadness, obviously tempered with anger from you being what she perceives as an evil. Mm-hmm. But that isn't to say that she doesn't have empathy or is incapable of empathy. She has merely outgrouped you. You are ostracized from the in-group, and you have identified yourself as somebody who is, the very antithesis of what she believes in. And so she's just kind of labeled you the enemy. And the only reason I'm making this distinction is because people are still capable of empathy, even when they're locked in these little tribal groups. And kind of a name drop here, and I'm sorry, but I think somebody like Anthony Magnabosco is really good at digging out with the street epistemology, that empathy or these other traits, and trying to get them to think about their position and emotively connect with you.
That's a good point you make, because I actually try to model my own activism and evangelism based on Anthony's type of system, where he asks a lot of questions to get you to identify the things that you believe and kind of shine a spotlight on them to see if they hold up to scrutiny. And I really like the way that he does that. When he
Well,
talks
and
to
I
people.
think it's primarily because his street epistemology approach kind of digs out the humanity in the other person, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to make it's almost like you're trying to make an acquaintance with them, rather than just have like a brash confrontational, debate or argument on the corner of a street. It's really kind of like trying to make that human connection.
Mhm.
And I think, I know Jim describes himself as anodyne. That's great and everything, but I just think, like, for the show's perspective, it might be good to remember that. And I'm not putting you down at all, Chris. I think you have a point that, like, they're not exercising empathy or applying empathy. They're very much othering.
Yeah, that's definitely closer to what I was trying to get across. Like, I'm sure they're caring people, with their families and friends and church members, but once you get outside that, then
right,
you're right. We're alien to them in some way. Some of these people may never have actually been exposed to atheism, or they may just have just the fact that it's kind of in your face. They may just kind of bounce off of them pretty hard. And
to some of these people, we are categorically the same, maybe just slightly lower than the Taliban or ISIS.
I think that anodyne label has been tarnished a little bit just in the last month, because for the first time in over 2 years of the life of this channel, we did weigh in pretty heavily against Kyle Curtis and the Non Sequitur show and what he did to Steve McRae. So I will get that title back, being the neutral space that everyone can go to. But right now, I'm not saying we took a side, but we did weigh in and we did levy some harsh judgment. And that was the first time we've ever done something like that.
Yeah, I just don't think, I don't really think it tarnished anything, because look, the thinking, the view that most people are taking of that is that he did a very unethical thing in regards to how he treated Steve. So I don't think that calling attention to the fact that he did a thing that most people would consider unethical would tarnish our journalistic integrity at all. Not saying that we're journalists or anything, but I know that Jim likes to pride our channel on the fact that we do tend to try to talk things out in a kind of a neutral way, just so that everybody gets all sides of the issue there. But that's a good point though that you make. I do kind of agree with. Well, I don't kind of agree. I do agree with Jason's take on the in-group preference phenomenon, and I think that it's generally not just they're looking at you or coming at you from a position of, well, you're wrong. I think you're wrong, and that's why I'm going to ostracize you or cast you out. I think it's more of a, you're not with us, so you're against us kind of thing.
And isn't that a pretty biblical perspective also?
Oh yeah, I mean, God had a chosen people and all that stuff. So, it's weird how Christians try to claim, oh, Jesus was for everybody. He loved everybody. He did, the Bible and God and all this stuff is about, just people being together, and everyone is welcome, and everyone should come into the fold. And well, if you actually look at some of the actions of your God in your own holy book, you would reject that notion as even remotely sane or logical, because he totally commanded the Israelites to basically go on a freaking terror spree, terrorizing, butchering, and enslaving all the surrounding nations that were in the Middle East at the time. So it's like they try to claim otherwise, but clearly the Bible does not want everybody to get along, is what I'm saying.
It was interesting. I tried to make this point to someone on Twitter. Like, when I thought, okay, we think, okay, what would Jesus do? Jesus, I'm not an expert on Jesus, but I don't think he would have vandalized atheist banners.
No, but
what Jesus would do, and the one time he was probably closest to be a vandal, is he reserved that for the members of his own religion that were doing it wrong. When he got in the temple and flipped over the tables and all that stuff. So, and I think, okay, what's the second greatest commandment? Love your neighbor as yourself.
Didn't he start a fire in the temple too, or something like that?
I think that was always burning as the world was turning.
He didn't start the fire.
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the golden rule is one of the 10 commandments, is it?
It's not one of the 10 commandments. No, that was when Jesus was asked, what's the greatest commandment? Love God. What's the
there's 613, but it's not, yeah, okay.
That's the mitzvah. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing is they don't actually, for whatever reason, Christians don't tend to connect the Old Testament with the New. And
when it's inconvenient.
Well, because it is inconvenient, exactly. But if you read Matthew 5:17 through 21, Jesus clearly says that he came because basically all of the rest of that is true and applies. Mm-hmm. Not one God, you know. Man, it just goes back to, I guess, knowing more about their Bible than they do, or at least being more intimate with it than they are. You know, it's so difficult to deal with these people. And looking back on my own life, it's like I can understand where they're coming from, but just my opinion, as I stated earlier, I think it is the empowerment of thinking you are speaking for the greatest thing that possibly could ever exist. And that it has specific desires and wants for you and expectations for you. And here's the part where it sucks. Not just you, everyone else. Go out into the world and preach to all the people. You know, these are my commandments.
Right.
And to me, that is the most caustic thing that religion does.
In the live chat, hold on. In the live chat, gosh, TJ, are you helping me with the ones that are up for review? Because unless they're illegal, unless it's illegal speech, which is inciting violence, we approve everything. But Korag Nightwolf brought up a really interesting. He reminded us that the golden rule is not unique. Much older religions and much older philosophies. Yeah, so it goes way farther back than even the Old Testament.
I think in both India and China, they can date it back to before.
Before I forget, I wanted to respond to what Jason just said. If I were to put on my theist hat for a minute, they would say, because you referenced that verse in Mark, because he says, not a jot or tittle of the law shall change until all things come to pass, is basically what he's saying. And if you were arguing with a theist who knew anything about their theism or about their Bible and knew apologetics, even basic level apologetics, they would say, that Jesus said, when he said until all things come to pass, would mean his sacrifice for humanity. Okay. And that already did come to pass. So therefore it was a new covenant. All the old laws went away because he fulfilled his purpose, what he came for.
Right. What it says is until heaven and earth shall pass. That's what it says.
I always thought it was translated as until all things come to pass.
This is one of those things where, oh man, you might actually get me into it, where I go pull up the Greek and then pull up Strong's Greek.
Right. Greek or whatever. Yeah.
But I think there might be some difference between the NRSV, the NIV, and the KJV, and how that particular verse is translated. But I'm almost positive it is Matthew 5:17 through 21 is until heaven and earth shall pass.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, I can.
Well, I also usually, when I get into that conversation with them and they try to say things like that, I also then usually point to another verse in the Bible where Jesus says, I didn't come to abolish the law, I came to fulfill the law. So to me, that tells me that he wasn't getting rid of the Mosaic laws. He'd actually come to earth in the form that he did to actually make sure that people were following the law, not the other way around. But
Yeah.
so we got Min Win, our super fan, gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Mr. Win. He's our Buddhist friend. We've had him on the show a few times. And he says, yeah, he's a cool dude. And he says, I treat religion as a means to better myself. I don't bind to it like Matt Kimbrough. His faith equals patriotism equals in God we trust equals his identity. So, and I think that's actually an important point, because that's really essentially what you're doing when you say you're an atheist to a theist, is that they're something that's they consider a part of their identity. They think you're trying to poo-poo on something that they consider a part of their identity. So, because what people believe, I definitely think that what people believe becomes part of your identity, and especially if it's something as strongly held as theism. So,
Jason just chapped in our little side chat. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, not one jot or tittle. I've always taken it that way, and they always want to dance on. They want to tiptoe around that, and I firmly believe that they want to keep the Old Testament as that was just that's the old law. Jesus came and changed the law, and I think they're just trying to be intellectually dishonest. Why? Because they still like to eat shellfish and get tattoos. That's why.
But the Ten Commandments, you got to have those in front of every courthouse.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's part and parcel of the mentality right there. Exactly. Is that they want to cherry pick and choose this or that while avoiding all of the other mitzvot, talking about how these are also morally virtuous, right? But if they're trying to read the tell all be fulfilled as a new covenant, then get rid of all that old shit. Don't make it part of your dogma. Don't teach it in your church. Go with the hippy dippy, retro Jesus, love everybody message. Just stick with that, man.
And the Bible.
Well, isn't there Chris and Jason, you probably know better than me, but isn't there another verse that's instead of heaven and earth shall pass until all this be fulfilled? There's another one that says until the coming of the kingdom of the Lord, which would, I mean, common sense would say that would be the second coming of Jesus. So it's basically saying all 613 old laws are still stone ironclad until Jesus comes back. That's how I read it.
I remember the thing you're talking about. I don't remember the exact verse, but the apologetic on that I've heard specifically is that Christ is, and I don't buy this for a second, but the idea is that Jesus' resurrection ushered in the kingdom or something along those lines.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, but that's the
yeah.
Damn. Hey, TJ, I know you're running the show, but I would love to see some more hate tweets about the banners.
Oh yeah,
and we have about 20 minutes left if we want to do 2 hours. Yeah.
Speaking of things that don't make sense, so okay, this one, we'll put that up.
Yeah, we'll close out with Chris giving us some more.
We'll palate cleanser. Yeah. So I can't stop thinking about this guy. I think I might be in love with him. But so this is dedication to a gimmick that, see, I appreciate it as someone who constantly says stuff that I think is funny and no one else does. So I appreciate a guy who says, okay, I'm going to have a Twitter gimmick where I am going to say, funk your dumb stuff, and I will make that my username. Obviously, funk the dumb stuff was taken, so we had to settle for @stufffunk. But he thinks he's great by making this his gimmick, but you can't have a cool gimmick and a cool catchphrase and still avoid swearing like you're a 2 p.m. network television movie. So he puts this thing out and says, oh, that's right. You can lay your banners all over the city to promote on the basis of your freedom of speech, but the mayor should be mum on her views. You're a hypocrite and just need to move along out of Fort Worth if you don't like it. Funk your dumb stuff. And he has a couple other ones where he talks about dumb stuff.
North of Andy Griffith there, buddy. Tone it down a little.
Yeah, that is some highbrow humor right there.
If you're an elected official, Jason and TJ know this. It's exactly the same as when you are a member of the United States military. There are certain things even when you're off duty, quote unquote, you're never really off duty. Same with police officers, but it's a little bit different with them. But we even when we're off duty, we're not allowed to say, we cannot disparage our chain of command. For instance, I could not, if I was an active duty Marine still right now, I could not disparage Trump in any way. Mm-hmm. He's commander in chief. He's in my chain of command. There's certain things you cannot say, and Mayor Price knows this. She can't give her personal opinions on a that's a government platform, even though it's a private tweet.
That's the problem. That's not her saying what she thinks is not the problem. It's she's saying it in her capacity as the mayor of Fort Worth. That's the problem.
Exactly.
So I do want to point this out because we kind of touched on whether she should have said she's appalled, but this guy makes note said you should move out of Fort Worth if you don't like it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, no, that's not how you solve anything. You can stay where you're at and try and make things better. That's how we do stuff. You don't just pack up and move every time something happens in your locality that you don't like. Yeah.
The United States Constitution is one of the very few secular constitutions on earth. So if he doesn't like it, he can move out.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, is he part of is Texas? So far as I know, it hasn't seceded yet, right?
Not yet.
We're not again.
We're thinking about it.
So yeah, the Constitution still applies. So how about he shuts the fuck up? How about that?
Yeah.
We're our own country for like 15 years, but I don't think there's any plans to do that again yet.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. Screen. Gonna put me back up there, Jim.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. This one hit me a little close to home. Becky says, "Look at this way. Even losers need to belong to something. Let the social outcasts have their little gathering. More than likely, the only reason most will show up is to hook up with some other nerd. It could be worth a few laughs to show up."
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Like,
how does she know?
I want to
get out of my head, Becky.
We'll come back to this in a second, but I wanted to address something that Korag Nightwolf said. It says in the live chat. He says, "This country is founded upon Christianity, though." And I'd like to take just a moment to correct you there, Korag. That's incorrect. What you had at the founding of this nation was a lot of people who were Christians that helped found this country, but it was always meant to be a secular nation. Yes, there were a lot of Christians involved in the decision-making process that resulted in us becoming a nation. But that didn't make our nation based upon Christianity. Actually, what our nation was based upon were Enlightenment values, not Christianity. So just to correct you there.
Yeah, even if you want to say that ignoring reality, but even if you want to say that America is a Christian nation because the founders were Christian, that's about as accurate as saying that America is a male nation because the founders were men. And it also ignores that there is nowhere that Christianity is codified into the Constitution, is in the Declaration of Independence. I mean, you don't believe me, you can go read it, but there's at best vague mentions of a deistic providence or creator, or, I mean, if you can point to me where it says Jesus or Jehovah in the Constitution, then okay, let's have that conversation. But
more than that, I'd actually like to
the United States
Korag Nightwolf, if you don't mind. All right, and so just real quickly,
he said he was joking, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So
there are people that believe that, so we can talk.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this is specifically for those people. Treaty of Tripoli, Article 11. This is as written by John Adams. Okay. Article 11, as the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, as it has itself no character of enmity against the laws, religion, or tranquility of Muslims,
Muslims, yeah.
And as the said states never entered into any war of act of hostility against any Mohammedan nation, it is declared by the parties that no pretext arising from religious opinions shall ever produce an interruption of the harmony existing between the two countries.
Yeah.
And let me add that was ratified unanimously by Congress.
Yes. And here's the kicker. I know it's not for Mr. Nightwolf or whatever his name is. It's for anybody else who's watching. John Adams confirmed was a Christian. Okay. And coming from what we discussed earlier, the Puritans and the Quakers were always at each other's throats. Okay. So what was going on when they were drafting all of this and setting up the foundational documents of our country, very fresh in their mind and that of their recent ancestors, was the religious bigotry that was applied against them in not just Britain via the Church of England, okay, the imposition and the taxation of whatever other denomination that you may be, or I believe it's actually you weren't even permitted. I want to be factual on that one, so I'm gonna segue here for a second. But the point is that they wanted to create an environment wherein people could practice or not practice their religion without any fear of government encroachment. Okay?
Yeah, I've always it's a good point that you make, because I've always kind of been of the mind almost sometimes to where I was like, well, maybe we could do it like England and just actually have a state religion. I think there'd be a lot less religion in this country if we had a state mandated religion, but because that's pretty much what they're doing over in England. England is like a 50% non-religious country now.
The funny thing about Britain is basically the Church of England became a running joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I was
going to say, as a side note, since we're talking about this, there's a new book by Andrew Seidel, The Founding Myth, talks a lot about this stuff and more. And Andrew Seidel will be here in Dallas on August 23rd, appearing at the local chapter of the Freedom of Religion Foundation. So if you're local to DFW and you want to find out more about this, I would recommend his book, and I would recommend checking out that gathering.
all right. Yeah. I mean, I'm all fired up now because there's just the whole misappropriation of the United States. Like, I don't think there's anybody in this chat right now that will say, you know, good golly gee, you know, most of the people in the United States during the ratification of the Constitution were definitely not Christians. I don't think any of us would ever say that, right? Because the fact was they were. But it's because they were, because of all the hardships and things that they faced, that they didn't want another theological encroachment. They did not want it. And theists need to come to grips with this.
Yeah.
The establishment. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I've been talking.
The Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. I mean, that has been how many legal precedents? That is established law. Anytime that goes into court, it gets judged the same way. And Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or something like that. Meaning, the U.S. government cannot favor any religion or any denomination of a religion over any other. Everyone gets the same fair shake, and that includes a lack of religion. That's why that's the Establishment Clause is the reason that that Betsy Price, no matter how much she wants to, cannot take the Fort Worth Police Department. They cannot take those banners down. They can look the other way when they're getting vandalized. That's for fucking sure, because we're seeing it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you hire yourself a legal professional. I don't know. Are you guys in contact with Nate Brody?
He's on right now.
Okay.
He's a moderator for us.
He's got some pretty dope videos. I've been watching his videos. So, hey, what's up, Nate? But but maybe get some legal consult, over that, because to me that seems like something, I've been very aware of a lot of like Second Amendment violations that have gone on, because I am a pro Second Amendment guy. And I know this is shooting way off the rails, but just as a point, when these kinds of constitutional violations occur, and especially when a law enforcement entity, I'm trying to remember the way to properly phrase it, but basically they specifically elect to enforce laws for only a given subset of the population, that's unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that, my whole thing is, I've seen people get stopped for something as simple as, say, like open carry, where it's legally, you can legally open carry for no reason, and that city gets sued into the ground for violating that person's rights. And I would just hope that this mayor would have the wherewithal, and the police chief would have the wherewithal to know that if they selectively enforce laws, man, that could get them in a lot of trouble.
I got a question. Well, Nate's the lawyer. If he wants to chime in on the live chat, if he's still in there, but
he's on Dragonoct right now.
Okay. On the 14th, we're doing that. Let me just plug that now, because I'm not going to save it for the end, but the 14th of this month, that's what the banners are for. It's a seminar. We're going to be talking about the same kind of stuff. Our very own Courtney from Atheist Edge, she just happens to be also president of Metroplex Atheist. She'll be giving a speech about this very subject, and Aaron Raw will be there, and of course he's always entertaining, and half the news crews of the United States will be there. It's going to be a full house, but I was wondering, is it, since I have open carry in Texas, and I know it always gets, whenever I don't do it very often, but if I still have my my weapon on a hip holster or a shoulder holster, sometimes if I got to duck into a drugstore, I'll do it. I don't like brandishing it out in the open, because it kind of puts crosshairs on your forehead. I'd rather have it concealed, but I have the option to do either. If I want to take mine into that just for self-defense reasons, do you think anyone, I know the atheist crowd, very liberal, do you think anyone's going to have a problem with that? Or is it going to?
I would hope
maybe
that it would. If it was a more private gathering that didn't have the news media there, I hope it wouldn't be necessary to have protection there. But with all the cameras around to capture everything that's happening,
would it put a bad image on our organization that one of the members is walking around armed like that? Or would it be a good thing?
It shouldn't, but it probably would.
Yeah,
I'll just conceal it then.
I'm not.
I don't know.
What do you carry, Jim?
Let me point this out real quick, because
it's Century Arms. It's a Turkish version of the Glock. It's a pretty dependable weapon. I was messing around with some RA 1911s earlier, and a 6-hour P220 and a bunch of other guns. But so here's the thing, and I just want to point this out, Chris, because this is a problem with the liberal ideology I have. And I'm sorry for positing it to you that way. I really am, because I don't really know the majority of your views. There's a certain detachment that leads you to believe that when you are in a group, you are quote unquote safer. Okay, and that things will not happen, and that it's okay because cameras will catch everything. The problem with that is a post hoc response. You don't pull your guns out of the armory after you're getting shot at. Okay, that's just not the way it works. So, and this is the thing. I don't know have you ever heard of an organization called the Pink Pistols?
I am aware of. I think I've heard the name. I don't know what they stand for. This
is something so cool that I find. I don't know, man. It brings a little smile to my. Basically, it's a subset of the homosexual community that's tired of being victimized, right? People being beat to death because of their sexual orientation. All right. And they have elected to properly train themselves in the carry, use, and concealment of arms. And that's what they do. And my whole thing is I really wish that, I don't know if this has happened to Jim a lot, because he leans more liberal, and maybe they just don't associate it with him. But it's almost always turned into some sort of phallic representation, when especially for those who have a Leo or military background, all it is a realistic assessment and acknowledgement.
I support women owning firearms because it's an equalizer.
Yes, it's an equalizer in all cases.
Yeah.
Jim's been in the cage. I've been in the cage.
Get to the range though in practice. You can't just carry it around and think you're an expert. You got to get at the range at least once a month and keep your skills up. And if you don't have your 5 weapon safety rules memorized, you don't belong. You don't have any business carrying that thing around.
That's
minimum.
True. I hope more human beings who elected to carry, I would hope that they would heed that advice. All right. So I'm just, my whole thing is I'm just so tired of like this divide. Like to me, I know we only got 5 or 10 minutes left or whatever, but to me, okay, so the left and the right both have their pros and cons, obviously. But the left for standing up for the impoverished and those that are often beaten to death, mutilated or harmed, seems very disinterested in their personal protection. And I was just thinking maybe like in a future episode or something like that, maybe you guys could contact like a spokesman for the Pink Pistols and we can crack the whole Second Amendment walnut, and go down that path. I'd be more than happy to do that. But it's just, I have to like lean back to Jim on this. We're both combat vets, right? I cannot imagine a scenario like in life. I understand that these violent things happen. Okay. And that any sort of after the fact action is insufficient, right? You do your best, but you really have to be able to react to contact is the term. All right. And if you can't do that, you're useless.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting that forward as like a pro-gun rights, anti-gun rights issue, and it's possible that I'm being just blisteringly naive on this, but I don't feel threatened.
Can I just really respect you for saying that? I'm not trying to call your balls or anything. I'm just saying because a lot of people, particularly from that spectrum, from the left-leaning spectrum, they think they have some sort of tactical knowledge and they don't. And your ability to say, hey, I don't know, first and foremost, that's awesome, man. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if we had an actual gun rights show, I would learn a lot from that show because I am not from Texas. I am from New Jersey, and views on guns are very different. So, but as to Jim's original question, if there were like an actual credible threat to the gathering, then yes. But if there's a lot of people who are going to be there for the first time, and they're probably going to be more liberal-ish. And I'd be worried about what having a guy with a gun would be optics wise.
That I'll tuck it away. I'll make sure it stays concealed. But you do know that there is a planned large scale Christian protest out front of it for that same day. So yeah. I'm definitely bringing it. I'm just not gonna. Yeah, I'll keep it.
Oh yeah, I felt like there could be a protest. I like I said, I hope that I'm correct about this, but I don't see anyone shooting up the place or anything like that.
No one ever does, Chris. No one ever does.
I know no one ever does. But
yeah, if you were expecting it, then you wouldn't need to, carry your junk around.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let people who are not me make the protection decisions for the event, and I'll just go and I'll talk to people and I'll listen to people and I'll have a good time. That'll be my role in the shenanigan.
I do think you're totally right. Having not even known the group, just who normally associates with said groups, you're probably on the money. That a lot of people, if they saw it, they would think very negatively, possibly make phallic-related associations regarding Jim. But I
they can think that all they want. Here's some homework for the people watching. Go and review. It's a short kind of a poem. It's written kind of. It's got a cadence to it, but it's the. Help me out, Jason. Is it called the sheepdog, and the wolf?
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay. Yeah. Go read that. It's some general that wrote it, and I'm not going to give any details. I'll let them go read it. But Jason and I are definitely sheepdogs, and we're 1% of the population. And to call Chris a sheep is not a pejorative right now, because sheep get things done. They're the ones that make the thinkers and the workers and the designers and the engineers and the scientists. But they're not there's a certain, I'm not saying it's genetic. I think it's probably mostly environmental, but I feel like in some way, I was born to protect the sheep, and we just do what we do. And that's why I feel awkward when they thank me for my service. You know, it's just what I do, man.
Yeah, that's the most awkward thing in the world, isn't it?
I think it's
Mhm.
I think it's definitely socially ingrained within certain individuals that are more likely to go into warrior professions. But it's definitely comes from this, like, I think a lot of that comes from this kind of like gynocentric, like, we must protect the women, we must do this, we must do that for them, and it's like you get that so that's where you get some of that impetus from, is like it's a protection thing. So yeah, I definitely, and it's just like I said about with the other thing too, because there was a necessity in our evolutionary past that necessitated certain well, it really required the entire gender. It required that the entire male gender be the warriors and the guardsmen and the hunters and all these physically demanding things. Because, like I said, you know, if there wasn't somebody standing at the entrance to the cave, something very scary and hairy would probably walk through the entrance and then eat everybody. So it's kind of a necessity thing that's kind of carried over. But all right, I guess I'm going to, with that, I'm going to go down the list here, as it were, and see if anybody has anything saved that they want to talk about before we wrap this up. And so before I do that, I want to remind everybody watching. Well, let me thank everybody watching first, and it's for you guys that we do this stuff, and we appreciate you joining the conversation with us today. And I just want to let everybody know, if they go into the low bar underneath the video, they can find our Twitter page, our Patreon page, our PayPal, our Facebook, Instagram, outside website page. We're also on Stitcher and iTunes. Merch is, of course, available on Teespring. Just look for the link down below. And we have one of our hosts, Jim Hall, is a published author, and you can find his books. He has two. You can find them on Amazon.com. And if you would like, kick us $1 a month, or whatever you can give. Put something in the tip jar for us, every once in a while. It really helps. It makes the show quality better, and it helps us keep doing what we do. With that being said, let me start with Jim. And Jim, do you have anything that you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
So you already pushed the Teespring.
Yes.
So as we've heard, the link is broken in the description section. I just fixed it on the default uploads from here on out. But as soon as this is over and it processes, I'll go back and fix it individually on the description of this. So that Teespring link will work. And it does have the "In No God We Trust" t-shirts. They're a hot item. R and Raw just advertise the shit out of them for us. So yeah, this is going to be limited time only. All the proceeds of that t-shirt and the other Metroplex Atheist t-shirt in our inventory, all the proceeds of that go to the nonprofit metroplexatheist.org. And so that helps. This is the largest activist organization in North Texas. We do protests. You can see our videos. I mean, we're out there a lot. We protest anti-gay churches. We protest Pastor Jeffress. When he does a sermon on America as a Christian nation. We're doing the seminar on the 14th. Great segue. Seminar on the 14th. Go to Metroplex Atheist Facebook page. Go to the events, and you'll find the August 14th, where Aaron Ra and our very own Courtney is going to be speaking at that. The seminar. The book club. The book club here in Arlington meets every month. That's atheistchristianbookclub.com or Atheist Christian Book Club on Facebook. The events there, they're just, so I don't know why they're doing it, but they're featuring my book August 2nd. So if you're in the area, you want to come to that, I need all the help I can get. So
Yeah,
a
and
room full
also
of angry Christians are going to be. Yeah.
I was gonna say you do need to RSVP for that because it's in a very small building. So if you go to atheistchristianbookclub.com, there will be a little form on there you can fill out and get in there. So
Cool. Did you have anything else?
Very often,
Go on, Dick, Chris.
yeah. Very often, we get the authors. We most of the time we get them via Skype, and they do a pre-recorded interview with us, and then we play it during the book club. But a lot of times they actually show up in person. And guess who showed up in person just here? Was it last month? And Chris had a nice back and forth with him. We have videos on it, but it was Frank Turek, and Chris did an outstanding job against arguably the greatest Christian apologist on the planet. And yeah, Chris just did an amazing job. Frank was really, I mean, he went out of his way to come and talk to us for 2 straight hours. And he had just gotten off 2 gigs that day. That was the 3rd gig of the day. So it was awesome. We've had Richard Carrier there. We filled the house. It was like 50 people. What was the last thing? That was it. If you only use Uber and you've never tried Lyft, go right now to your phones, download the Lyft app, and before you request your first ride, go to the payment section, and in the promo code, type in Atheist Edge, all one word, and the first ride's on us. And that's all I've got.
Awesome. Go ahead, Chris.
Let's see. Well, I gave my personal plugs earlier, sleepinginsundays.com, @Sleep Sundays on Twitter. But yeah, if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, North Texas, and can make it out on the 14th,
Awesome.
it'll be really great to have a show of force with all the cameras there, with all the protests happening. It'd be great to have a full venue to make the point that, hey, it's not just Christians in Texas. There's a lot of different views out there, and the Christians are not the ones speaking for everyone and as much as they like to think they are.
All right. Did you have anything that you wanted to touch on before we wrap it up, Jason?
No, hey, thanks for having me on, guys, and listening to my bullshit. Appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure talking with every one of you gentlemen. Wish we could have got some ladies in here this time, but unfortunately it was very short notice, so we didn't get a chance to get some people that we invited.
Yeah, Lisa for Truth. Lisa for Truth. If you're just tuning in, yeah, she came in earlier, so go to Lisa for Truth and give her some love as well.
Right. I would have loved to have had her stay for the whole conversation, but unfortunately she had to go. So yeah, with that, just wanted to again thank everybody out there watching. We really appreciate having you guys as fans, and I never thought that I'd be, doing this kind of thing and having people actually want to watch me talk or listen to me talk or whatever. So you guys make this happen, man, and we appreciate it. And we'll see you in the future sometime. We'll be doing these live shows a little bit more and just talking about random stuff that we find to talk about. So thanks guys for coming, and thank you all for having us and allowing us into your lives for these 2 hours. Appreciate it.